Hey guys, it's Sarah. Thank you so much for watching. So today I'm going to be chatting about the first high-end makeup products that I ever purchased. Whether or not I still have them, still enjoy them, if I don't have them, what I thought of them, if I changed my mind about them, etc. This is actually a group collab, so I'll be linking everyone else down in the description box, but my friend Alexandria Sutton here on YouTube is the one who started this, and when she invited me to be a part of it, I was just so excited. She has so many unique and creative video ideas. She's the one who came up with this idea, and so I was really excited to jump on board. I definitely hope that you will check her out, as well as all the other ladies who are a part of this collab. Let's go ahead and get into it. The first high-end makeup products that I've ever owned or purchased or whatever. So just as a little spoiler, most of my first high-end purchases were from Too Faced, which is actually really funny because now I hardly own anything from Too Faced. So I don't know what that says about the brand or about what I think about the brand, but let's just go ahead and get started. I remember the first high-end order that I placed, and it was on Too Faced's website. And I remember I purchased a little bundle of like the beauty blogger favorites, or it was like a bundle of their top selling products, and they were all in kind of deluxe sample sizes, so I got to try a bunch of their really popular products. One of them was the Shadow Insurance. That is something that I used up. I did really like it, but honestly, I remember having it at the same time that I had the Milani one, and I felt like the Milani one and the Shadow Insurance were pretty much the same thing. They both worked just as well. So I wouldn't go back to the Shadow Insurance. It's a good primer if you have it or you have the chance to try it. It does a good job, but I just don't see the need to spend that much money anymore because there are just so many other good drugstore ones that I've tried. Like I said, I really like the Milani, and I also really liked the Wet n Wild Photofocus primer. Right now I have the Ulta Beauty one, which is also pretty good. So the next thing was the Better Than Sex mascara. I was really excited to try this because it was so hyped up on YouTube right around that time. This was probably in 2015, I'm guessing, was when I had these products. I was just kind of starting to get into makeup, and I was so excited to try the Better Than Sex mascara because everyone loved it. Everyone said it was the best mascara, and I didn't like it. I know that it made my lashes look really big and voluminous and long, which that was nice, but it also smudged a ton underneath my eyes, and I just could not get on board with that. For me personally, if a mascara, even if it looks really nice on my lashes, if it smudges, I don't like it, and I don't think it's worth it. Even if it's a drugstore price mascara, I just don't have time for my mascara to be smudging, and I would rather have a mascara that actually stays on and looks amazing on my lashes. So I would not go back to the Better Than Sex, and I feel like the hype on that one is kind of dying down. Also, I have a really hard time paying more than $10 on a mascara because you're supposed to replace it every 3 to 6 months, really 3 months, and it's just one of those products that goes bad pretty quickly, so I don't feel good about spending a lot of money on it. Right now I'm really enjoying the Balm mascara, which is a little bit more expensive, but a lot of times you can find the Balm like half off, which is what I did. So if I were to continue repurchasing any high-end mascara, I think it would be the Balm. It's the Mad Lash mascara. I am really enjoying it so far. Another Too Faced product that I had was the Lip Insurance. I don't remember that being very much of a standout product at all to me. I think it might have helped a little bit with my lip products staying on longer, but it's not something I would repurchase. I just don't really feel the need to spend money on a lip primer when, if I'm gonna wear a lipstick at all, it's gonna be a lipstick that has like a decent amount of staying power anyway. So that really wasn't that great to me as far as I remember. I know I used it up though. I think I put it in my very first project pan and I used it up, so that was nice. But another thing from Too Faced was, sorry, a lot of these are Too Faced. I promise there are 2 whole products that are not Too Faced, but the Too Faced Glamour Gloss, I also had a little deluxe sample size of that. I didn't really care for that. I'm really not much of a lip gloss person, although I am wearing one today. But that one, I remember it had kind of a chemically taste. It was supposed to be plumping. I don't know about that. It didn't really do a whole lot. It was just a normal like mauve-y colored gloss. It was fine, but nothing that impressive. Last 2 things from Too Faced. The Too Faced Romantic Eye Palette. I remember I purchased that on Look, and I don't know if you guys remember this palette. I'm pretty sure it was discontinued a while ago. It was a nice palette. I think it leaned a little bit more cool. It had a lot of like it was, I think it was kind of marketed as like a bridal sort of eyeshadow palette. It had a lot of more cool tones. It also had a really nice greenish gold shimmery color. That was like the one shade in that palette that I really liked. The rest of it I found kind of boring, and I actually decluttered that palette a while ago. I think I decluttered it back in, I think it was in 2016 that I decluttered it. There's an old eyeshadow palette declutter video on my channel, and that palette was one of the ones that I decluttered. So I thought it was a nice formula. I liked that one like greenish gold shade, but I really wasn't that impressed with the shade selection as a whole. Another Too Faced product that I remember purchasing, it was on sale, and that's why I bought it. And this is when I kind of learned my lesson about not really buying limited edition products from brands, because a lot of the time they're just not as good as like the permanent collection. It was one of their little cheap, like, this is from Too Faced also, one of their little cheap, it was called their candy bar palette. And I don't know if you guys remember this. This was from their holiday collection like 3 years ago or something. It had like a phone case attached to the palette, and you could like take the phone case off and use it on your phone, which I guess was kind of a cool idea, but the palette itself was really flimsy. I think it had like 9 eyeshadows and then a blush and a bronzer. The bronzer was nice. I think the bronzer was supposed to be like their Chocolate Soleil bronzer. I don't know if it was the exact same thing. The bronzer I liked. It was like a matte bronzer. It had a blush that, it was probably one of the worst blushes I'd ever tried. It was a pretty color. It was just like a standard pink blush, but it would just fade. It would just disappear off of my cheeks like within a few hours, which I hardly ever have that problem with blush. Usually blushes stay on my cheeks for the entire day. I don't really have an issue with my blushes fading, but that blush would not stay on. I don't know what it was. It was a powder blush. It just wasn't any good. And then the eyeshadows were in tiny little pans, and I just remember half of them being like really dry and not very pigmented. And so I was not impressed. That was one of the first Too Faced products that I ever tried, and it just did not impress me. And I was like, that's what I get, I guess, for buying like a limited edition palette that was on sale. It just wasn't very good. So anyway, all of those Too Faced products were things that have been in my collection in the past. None of them are still in my collection. A lot of them I used up, and then some of them I just decluttered. And now I only have like one thing from Too Faced. It's like a little loose glitter shadow, which I hardly ever use. So I don't know what it is with me and Too Faced, because apparently I used to be super interested in the brand and wanted to try a bunch of things from them, and then I kind of lost interest. So I don't know. I do have a couple of Too Faced items that are on my wish list now. I don't know if I'll get around to trying them, but it would be interesting to try out the brand now that I've kind of had like a pretty long break from them. So the last 2 products are eyeshadow palettes from not Too Faced. The first one, I've talked about this a lot on my channel. It's the Balm Nude Dude palette. This was one of my first high-end eyeshadow palette purchases after those Too Faced ones that I mentioned. This continues to be a favorite. There's really nothing all that special about it, and I really don't think you need this palette, especially if you have a lot of neutral colors in your collection already. But it is a nice, just neutral, everyday palette. It has kind of some nice, like, rosy tones in it, which I really like. These 2 like more mauve-y tones, and then some bronzes, some golds, some nice matte shades. It's a nice palette. I like it, I think, mostly because it's a little bit nostalgic for me, because it was one of my first high-end purchases. And I do continue to use it, but I feel like most people either don't need this or might be a little underwhelmed by it, because there's just so many things like this on the market now. If you're just starting to build your eyeshadow palette collection, I think this would be a nice addition, but it's not something that I'm gonna tell everyone to go out and buy, because it's just a neutral palette. But I really do like the Balm. The Balm is probably one of my favorite high-end brands, although really, the Balm to me is a little bit more of a mid-range brand, because a lot of times you can get them on sale. I hardly ever buy their products full price, because they're always either on HauteLook or their website will have half-off sales. So I would recommend waiting for a sale if you're going to buy anything from the Balm. But this is a nice palette, and I will probably keep it in my collection for a while, because I just like it. And I like the packaging. It doesn't take up much space. It's pretty slim, so The first high-end product that I ever purchased was the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. This I actually didn't purchase that long ago. In fact, it might have only been about a year ago that I purchased this, but I still feel like it's one of those high-end staples in my collection. Pretty much everyone owns this palette at this point, but oh my gosh, I just dug my fingernail into it. Oh no. Hang on. Okay, I just dug my fingernail into one of those shadows. It's probably a sign that I need to trim my fingernails because they're getting really long. But I love this palette. This will probably continue to be a favorite for years to come. I just think that this is really what got me started with Anastasia, the brand as a whole. This was the first Anastasia product I own. Now I have 4 of their palettes, including this one. So I have this one, the Subculture, the Soft Glam, and the Norvina. When did I become a collector? I don't know, but this really started it all for me. I really like warm tones. They're my personal favorite type of shadow to work with, so I feel like this palette just has everything I need in the warm tone family. A few of my favorite shades are, I love Red Ochre, the one I just dug my fingernail into, Venetian Red and Love Letter. Those 3 are just gorgeous. I love Primavera. I always love a good shimmery gold. Tempera is one that I use pretty much every time I use this palette, just as a brow bone highlight. I can honestly look at every single one of these shadows and say that I like every shade in this palette, and I use every shade in this palette. The only shade I don't use a ton is Realgar, I guess is how you pronounce it. This last like matte orange shade. I don't use that one as often, but it is still a really nice shade. So this palette is what got me started on Anastasia. Now Anastasia is one of my favorite brands. I love their Brow Wiz. I love their other palettes. Now I want to try more from them. But this is definitely a purchase I do not regret. Even though I bought it, I think I only bought it a year ago, but it's still, to me, it feels nostalgic. Also, this is the palette that my best friend and all of her bridesmaids, and myself included, wore in her wedding, and so it's a little nostalgic there too. It was a fall wedding, and this palette was just like the perfect fall wedding palette. So those are all of the first high-end makeup products that I owned or do still own. I think it's interesting that most of the products I talked about were Too Faced, and now I hardly own any Too Faced except for that one little single loose eyeshadow. So that's interesting. But let me know what your favorite high-end brand is. What were the first high-end products that you purchased? I can definitely remember vividly the first time I made a high-end makeup purchase. That was like a really big day for me, and when it finally came in the mail, I was so excited. So I feel like we all probably have a similar experience with it. So let me know what your first high-end purchases were. Again, make sure you check out all the other channels who are part of this collab. I think there are about 5 or 6 of us. Those will all be linked down below. I can't wait to watch their videos. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're new and you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!